last one out of the shelter, as is often the case, although in my own defense, I was not the last one out of the shelter yesterday. I just want to take a minute and before I got on the trail, try to shoot this from the trail. My hands are numb, and you'll understand why in a minute. I just wanted to recap what happened yesterday. It was one of the worst conditions I've ever encountered, whether backpacking or any other endeavor, any other activity. I didn't shoot very much video, and understandably so, because of the conditions. What little footage I got was during brief breaks in the rain. And I just want to put this into context for you so you understand the situation we were in. It was only about a 12.5 mile hike, about a 12.5 mile hike. For me, that's a pretty big day at this point. It was only my 5th day on the trail. So it had rained the night before. It had started raining late in the morning. It wasn't raining when I started. It was kind of drizzly. That's when I shot the deer. It was kind of drizzle off and on, and then it progressively got worse. The temperature dropped. Thunder started in the distance, and I could hear it getting closer and closer. Then lightning started. The thunder started rolling overhead. The rain was coming down about as hard as it could. The trail was flooding out. I was soaking wet from here down, everything just soaking wet. Thankfully, my rain suit performed admirably. My enlightened equipment, Visp rain jacket, and my Z-Packs Vertice, however you say it, rain pants. Those really saved the day, I'll be perfectly honest with you. So here is the situation. So you've heard of hypothermia. Most people think hypothermia happens when it's like below freezing, blizzard conditions, winter, snow, and so on. That's not true. Hypothermia just means your body temperature has dropped to a dangerous level, to a level that becomes life-threatening at some point. And normally we're 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit, as you know, and hypothermia only takes a few degrees. Your body temperature drops, I forget what the temperature is, I want to say like 95. If it just drops 3 or 4 degrees, that's becoming dangerous, okay? You're in a situation at that point. So most people don't realize you can get hypothermia when it's 60 degrees out. It doesn't have to be freezing cold, okay? So how does that happen? You get wet, okay? Let's imagine you're soaking wet from head to toe. Your clothes are wet, they're clinging against your skin. That water wants to equalize itself temperature-wise with your body. Your body's 98.6. The water is not. So the water starts to suck heat from your body. Now here's the kicker. If it's windy, that wind blows the heat that the water is sucking out of your body, blows that heat away. That's the evaporative process. Normally that helps you when it's hot out. That's why when you put something wet on when it's hot, it helps cool you, right? The evaporative process. When it's cold or when it's windy, that works against you. So now you're in a situation. It's 60 degrees out, seems fine, it's kind of mild, it's not bad. But you're wet and there's a wind. Now your body's being robbed of heat. So you only have two choices. You have to either generate additional heat to replace the heat you're losing, or you have to stop the heat loss. So you have a situation where you've got a rain suit on to protect yourself from precipitation, from water from the outside, from infiltrating your clothing. That's great. The problem is a lot of these rain suits don't breathe well, and so now the perspiration that you're building up from the activity that you're doing, the hiking that you're doing, that has nowhere to go. So you've got precipitation trying to come in from the outside, and the rain suit is keeping that from penetrating. And then you've also got perspiration from the inside that needs to get out. And here's the trick. The rain suit can't always do both things at the same time. It can't prevent the water from the outside from getting in while also letting the water from the inside getting out. A lot of them make claims that they can do that. They're successful to various levels as far as that goes. So what happens is this condition called wetting out. Now, wetting out can happen two ways. It can happen when the rain eventually just overwhelms your rain suit. The precipitation, just your rain suit can only handle so much, and then at some point it just begins to fail and it can't repel the water anymore, and the water begins to soak through. You can wet out that way. The other way you can wet out is you're generating so much perspiration, your rain suit can't let it all breathe through the membrane, and it just begins to build up, and you begin to get wet from the inside from perspiration rather than precipitation. So that was the fine line I was battling yesterday, was, keeping the precipitation off me while also not wetting out from the perspiration I was building up, because I was hiking as fast as I could. I hiked faster than I've ever hiked before to try to get through that rainstorm. So let me put this into perspective just so you don't think I'm exaggerating. So I finally got to the shelter. There was another guy here. He had started at the previous shelter. He had stayed the same place I did the night before. Nick, if you're watching, good luck to you. Hope you're doing well. Nick stopped here. I think he had intended to go farther, but the conditions were just so miserable that he decided to give up. The kicker was another thru hiker came through, DP, if you're watching, hope you're doing well, good luck to you. DP came through. He was trying to get through Shenandoah National Park in 3 days. Now, just to put that in perspective, Shenandoah National Park is 105 miles long, so you have to hike 35 miles a day for 3 days in a row to get through Shenandoah. That's crazy. 35 miles a day. Okay, that's a whole different ball game than I'm in. But anyway, he had started 2 huts before this hut. So he had started at the hut I had been in 2 nights ago. And he was planning on doing 35 today, and he bailed out. He showed up at this shelter, and he said, I was trying to do a 35. He goes, I called it. He says, I can't, I'm soaked to the bone, I'm freezing. You don't want to get hypothermia. So even he called it quits. He just said that was it. It was too rough, it was too cold, it was too wet, it was just brutal. And then the other 2 guys that I've been kind of hopping shelter to shelter with for the last 3 shelters, they same thing. They were wetting out. They had frog togs, I believe, which don't breathe as well as the rain suit I have, and so they were wetting out a bit from the inside through perspiration. So anyway, I don't mean to ramble on, but it was seriously a dangerous situation yesterday. Luckily, I was prepared for it. It was not pleasant. I have to imagine that that's going to be one of the worst, if not the worst, days on the trail, which, if that's true, I'm glad I got it out of the way early. And I shouldn't say that. I don't want to jinx myself. You don't know what's going to happen in the White Mountains up in New Hampshire. You get above 5,000 feet, and you get above tree line, and things can change very quickly, even in the middle of summer. I plan to be in the Whites in July, probably. So we'll see what happens, but yesterday was something else. Between the bitter cold, it was probably 40, low 40s. The rain, just that torrential 7 hours straight of rain. I think we had a couple of breaks of 10 or 15 minutes, and then it would start pouring rain again. The trail being washed out in places, getting soaking wet from the shin down, hands soaking wet. Everything. My backpack is billed as, they don't build as waterproof, and let me tell you, it's not. It's water resistant at best. It can shed a light rain, but yesterday, 7 hours straight, I had rain inside my pack. I had pooled water inside my pack. Luckily, everything was in dry bags or plastic bags, so none of my gear got wet, thank goodness. The only thing that got wet was my light load towel, which I should show it to you. Actually, I will. This is my light load towel. I use this to wipe the condensation from inside my tent in the morning. I use this to dry things. I use it to, it's basically just to mop up water. It's 3 years old. I don't know if you can see this. You probably can't, but it is full of holes. Guess why? It wasn't full of holes yesterday. It's full of holes today because a mouse was chewing on it all night. Because I laid it out in the rafters to dry overnight, and a mouse said, "Oh, this looks tasty," and not only chewed it up, but pooped all over it. So I had to shake all the mouse poop off it, and yeah, so I'm gonna have to get a new light load towel. This one's 3 years old, and it's pretty much seen its final days, I think, after that mouse had its way with it all night. So anyway, I use this to mop up the water inside my pack, and my pack's still wet. The shoulder straps are wet and everything. So my plan is today, no rain pants, no rain suit. I'm going to take off my puffy, just wear my my capilene or polyester base layer. I've got my fleece warmth layer for warmth. The sun's coming out. There's no wind. It's a clear blue sky. I'm hoping I'll warm up pretty quick. My feet are ice cold. I had to put on wet, cold socks. So everything from here down is still soaking wet. My shoes are soaking wet. My sock liners are soaking wet. My socks are soaking wet. My calf sleeves are soaking wet. My gaiters are soaking wet. And the bottom of my pants are soaking wet. So I got to get moving so that I can warm up. Anyway, I just want to give you a recap of that. Yesterday was a brutal day. It was one for the record books. And it was, quite frankly, dangerous. And I hope that everyone out there on the trail who was in the middle of that is okay and did not suffer any ill effects and was able to find shelter in time. So that's it. Thanks for watching. Hopefully I'll get more footage today. It looks like a good day. I've got to do about 11.5 miles today. I'm going to Big Meadows Wayside, and I'll shoot some footage when I get there. And I'm hoping to have some lunch. Hopefully their grill will be open, and I'll be able to get a hot meal and rest up a little bit, use their facilities, and then push on another 3 miles to the shelter after that. So thanks for watching. Here comes Friday.